Welcome to The Global Girlfriend.
Shall we book a trip to Lisbon?
Yup.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to The Global Girlfriend. We're so happy to have you guys. This is a podcast about traveling, living abroad, and all the ins and outs and stories that go into that. And obviously, connection, because we love to connect with people all over the world. I'm very excited about today's topic. This is such a great one. So applicable to a lot of people and so fun. This one is dating in translation. So we're going to talk about the wild and fun and sometimes complicated world of dating while you're traveling and living abroad. Things that go into that. We're going to highlight cultural differences, stories, language barriers, and the good and the bad that go in that. I'm super excited for today's guest. It's one of my dear friends, Izzy. Izzy and I met about, I think, 8 years ago, and she has been living in Madrid for almost 10 years, I believe now, from New Jersey, living in Madrid for quite a while. And so she's here, and she has some of, we always love talking about dating and different experiences. So, Izzy, welcome.
Thank you so
Welcome
much
to The
for
Global
having me.
Girlfriend.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, it's going to be great. Okay, so maybe just to get things going, do you have
hmm
just a quick little story or teaser of a story that comes to mind of a dating
Oh,
story?
gosh. Well, you know that I have so many. Morgan and I, as she said, have known each other for a long time, and we've been talking about this throughout our entire friendship. But I've gotten on planes for first dates, I've crossed international borders for first dates. I completed an entire Duolingo language for a guy who I liked in Europe, whose first language was not English. I've done a lot of dating. That being said, in about the decade that I've been in Spain, I've been single the whole time. So that's given me a lot of opportunities to meet new people, get out of my comfort zone, and also define what my comfort zone is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and like I feel like you've just through these years have been so great at saying yes to different situations, like and saying yes to dates and saying, you've just been so great, which is not always easy to do that, I feel like.
No, it's not always easy, but I feel like a lot of times when you are a person who travels extensively or you're an expat and you live abroad, you might connect with this mentality. When I first moved to Madrid, I remember sitting down with my three roommates at the time, and they were all American expats as well. And we said that the vibe was say yes to everything. As long as it's not dangerous, as long as we're
Mhm.
not putting ourselves in harm's way, we have to say yes to everything. Otherwise, we're not going to have the experiences that travel and living abroad really offer to you.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God,
Oh,
I
I think
love that.
that's such a good mentality. Yeah. So okay, let's just kind of dive into, cultural differences in dating. So, how are dating norms different, across cultures from your experience?
Oh, I mean, obviously I've been living in Spain for a long amount of time, and I don't know that the culture is very different. I mean, obviously there's a language difference, and I think this is one of the main things that can be a hurdle that you have to get over if you're dating someone across borders. But in terms of dating culture itself, I think it's a reflection of what the native culture is in whatever country that you're in. So when I think about the differences between the United States, because I'm from New Jersey, and Spain, I think about how Spain is a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more social. And what I found is that dating is also a little bit less formal. People are more willing to go on a coffee date or a walk in the park, whereas a lot of my friends in the US at this point in our early 30s are more sort of like, okay, if you're not taking me to dinner and picking up the bill, it's not a date. So then, from my perspective, where I'm in Madrid and things are a bit more casual, I'm sort of like, okay, I went for an hour-long walk with this guy in the park. We just had a little chat together, and I think that's a date. So I think there's a little bit of a difference in maybe formality.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that's a really good. I feel like a really good observation. Um, so do you have a story? I mean, like a from a either a cute first date or a cringe story. that you want to share?
Yeah, I do. This is just a
Either
small
one.
one. Yeah, so it's both. It's both cringe and it's a first date, which is often the case, isn't it? So when I first got to Madrid, as I said, I had this mentality of say yes to everything, get out there, see what there is to see, and try whatever it is that I can try. So I was already on Tinder and other dating. Well, I wasn't on other dating apps. To be honest, I was only on Tinder in the United States. And then when I traveled to Madrid, I continued to use that application as a way to meet people. And I told myself, okay, I'm in Spain. I'm going to try to go on dates with local guys. This was probably a month into my time in Madrid. I was relying on high school Spanish. I did not study beyond that. And just this sort of blind faith that I could work things out in the situation. So I went on a first date with this guy, and I only went on one date with him. I feel bad now. I can't even remember his name. It was probably 9 years ago. And we met, we went to a Starbucks in Opera. So this nice little location. It's a beautiful plaza, bustling people, lots of people watching. I remember that he was an engineer and he only spoke Spanish. So I was trying to navigate this conversation where I'm trying to get to know somebody in another language. I'm trying to express myself in another language and also reveal myself a little bit, like who I am and what I'm interested in.
Hmm.
And that's really difficult. I remember that I felt nervous and also like a little silly. I was like, halfway through the date, I was like, who do I think I am? I don't have enough Spanish to be here. And then at the end of the date, what made it a little bit cringe is that there was perhaps a cultural difference. He kind of insisted on walking me home. And as a woman by myself in another country, I was like, I do not want this man to walk me home. Quite honestly, I was like, I don't want a stranger to like know where I live. I don't want to reveal my address to someone. And it was a little bit strange to me because it was raining and there was a metro stop right there. There's a metro stop right in Plaza Opera. So I was kind of like, why don't you just grab the metro so you don't get wet? Like you don't have to walk me home. I was trying to find all these different ways to tell him, just leave me be. And he really
Yeah.
insisted. So what I ended up doing was just pulling up to an apartment close by to my own. And I just said, okay, here I am. Thank you so much for the date. Like, I'll send you a text message. And it wasn't my apartment. I just did not want this man to know where I lived. And that's not
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
felt unsafe. I didn't think he was dangerous, but just as a way of like protecting my own privacy, maybe, and feeling a little bit out of my depth on the date. I was just like, okay, I don't want him to know where I live. So I think a little bit cringe for him not getting the hint that I didn't want him to walk me home. But also looking back on it, a little bit cringe for me, like being out of my depth and trying to navigate this situation.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. That I mean, good for you though. Honestly, you knew about your safety and you walked into the lobby of an apartment that wasn't yours and good for you.
Yeah,
I
sometimes
know.
you have to do what you
I
have
think
to do.
that's like really like thinking on your toes. Like I feel like that was like good that were able to protect that privacy. And also, yeah, I can't imagine trying to I like trying to talk about all that in Spanish like first couple months that you're there.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I just told this really long winded story. I'm a talkative person. And then in Spanish at that point in my life, I think I probably said like 6 sentences on this date.
Oh
Oh,
my
that's awesome.
gosh.
So that's kind of what we want to talk a little bit about next is so that first date was 9 years ago. When you
Right.
go on dates now, do you mostly go on dates in English or in Spanish or in both? How has that changed over the years if it has?
Oh, great question. So after that first experience, I spent probably 5-ish years only going on dates in English. And that
Okay.
didn't mean that I was only going out with English speakers, but I would definitely either consciously or subconsciously filter for European men who could also speak English at a native level or at least at a conversational level. And it's
Yeah.
only recently that I've started to feel confident enough in my Spanish that I can engage with someone in that way in Spanish. And I mean, that's on dates. That's also in my friendships that I've started to have relationships that are in another language. And actually, I'm starting to feel like even if a relationship or a date was in Spanish, I do think it would maybe be important to me that a partner or a potential partner did have some level of English, just so that if we had
Yeah.
to, we could engage in my native language if it had to be the case.
Totally. I feel the
That makes
same. I
sense. Yeah.
feel the same way. That makes, I mean, I think like, who you are at your core often comes from like your first language, and so having a partner that understands that I think is a really important thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
guys have also been all over the world. Do you prioritize partners and potential partners that speak English?
I mean, I do.
Um,
I'm not bilingual, so unfortunately, it's one of my like biggest grievances about my life, and I hope to change that someday. I
Mhm.
only speak English. I'm totally open to learning another language. Like to be honest, I've had boyfriends and gone on dates with lots of people from all around the world. I've tried learning a few languages. I was in a relationship that ended, and I was really working on that language. And then when the relationship ended, I was like, I'm not learning another language until I until I get engaged. um, which like I'm
oh
a
yeah.
bit more flexible on that now, but I do think, that something that I think about for myself is that, I do date people from all around the world, and so eventually when I find a partner, there's a good chance that they will have a different first language, and I am excited to
Mhm.
embrace learning
Mhm.
learning that language. So yeah, that's my experience. Morgan, what about you?
Oh, that's great. I feel like I've transitioned quite a bit. I feel like I've had so many experiences dating it when I lived in Europe and people from all over, and yeah, like English not their first language. And I feel like I care so much about, expressing the depths of my soul, like probably to a fault. But I'm like, my soul needs to be expressed. And I ended up have found it to be really hard with dating and like I dated a guy for a couple of years and we didn't have the same first language and he had good English, but I felt like there was often like this disconnect of not being able to get where I wanted to. So I think from my experiences I kind of ended up transitioning to where yeah, like it was to the soul level of English um that I needed. And so yeah, it's been a journey, but I think that's where I ended up because
Mhm.
that was really important.
Can you tell us about learning Duolingo for a man?
Okay. I feel like
Yes.
Morgan is probably like sitting in her seat, like I know this story. So when I was new to Spain, it was my first year
hmm
in the city. I met a grad student who was Swedish and he was living in Madrid for the semester. And we met and we developed this sort of, well, I mean, of course, we just went on a few first dates in Madrid. And then he was like, well, I'm leaving at the end of the semester. So I thought to myself, okay, well, that's that. I mean, we're going to be miles away. But he went back to Sweden and we continued chatting with each other and we kept up this relationship over text message and phone call. And I was just kind of like, I think I could learn Swedish if I tried hard and believed in myself. I mean, I also have this
yeah.
unhealthy obsession with IKEA. And that was like since I was a child. It's like a very strange kind of, I just love IKEA. So I kind of, I think people kind of sometimes get attached to certain cultures. You guys are travelers. I'm sure you have dream countries that, this culture, this country just really speaks to you. And for a long time for me, that was Sweden. And so I was like, okay, what better time to try to learn Swedish than if I'm talking every single day with this guy? And I did the entire Duolingo course. I mean, it took me 2 years,
That's amazing.
but I finished it. And it
Bravo.
did come in handy. I mean, the Scandies are incredibly well versed in English. They're essentially native speakers, I think.
hmm
But there were a few times that I visited him in Sweden and I met his friends or his family, and he would literally tell them, well, she speaks Swedish. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know if I speak
Oh,
Swedish, but I speak, Duolingo level 3 Swedish. But the sad thing is, if there are people on here, I'm sure, who, like people listening to the podcast, who are Duolingo stars because, travelers, when you finish a Duolingo course, nothing happens. Like there's no cute graphic of like you graduated or like you're now fluent in this language.
oh
It's
no.
just like the little owl telling you like great job, just like a normal lesson. Like, okay, so anticlimactic.
That is so
We
rude because the little owl throws you so much shade when you don't practice.
He
Like its
throws you
face
so much
starts to
shade.
melt.
Yes. And then when you succeed, when you have the ultimate success, it's nothing much.
Oh my gosh,
Oh my
that's
god, wow.
devastating.
Mhm.
That is devastating. That's so cool. I'm so proud of you. Good for you.
Yeah, thank
I
you
know.
so much.
That's some
And
commitment. That's great.
I mean, on a deeper level, I think it connects to what I was saying before. Like, I feel I'm at a point in my life where I've realized it would be important for me for a partner or a potential partner to speak English. And even though this guy spoke perfect English, he would ask me, like, why are you learning Swedish? Like, I speak English just fine. But I also think it's kind of, I don't know if sign of respect is like too heavy of a phrase, but it's like, okay, I like you, I'm invested in you, and therefore it's important for me to be able to get to the depths of your soul, like what Morgan was saying. I think sometimes you
Yeah.
have to use your first language to express something.
Yeah,
Oh
especially
yeah.
for things, like swear words or like
Yes.
road rage.
Like
Yeah, you really
anger,
need to get that.
sadness, frustration. You need
Hmm.
your
Those
first
are always
language,
going to be
yeah.
better in the first language.
Hmm.
We were talking a little bit before about that sort of like misunderstanding or that gray area of, the guy wants to walk you home. You're not used to that. Have either of you experienced something that at first you were like, oh, this is a red flag, but then later you were like, oh, that's not a red flag. That's just cultural?
Ooh. Well, I mean, that
Hmm.
story that I told, I
Yeah.
think for sure. And the thing is, I think Spanish men, they are really gentlemanly. There's,
Hmm.
of course, there's this negative aspect to it of like the machista culture, like overall. But then underneath that, there's this sort of old school gentlemanly vibe, I think.
Hmm.
So I do think walking him home, like him walking me home, was just a cultural misunderstanding. I kind of thought, why is this guy walking me to my door? Is he going to try to come up? Is he going to pressure me? But in the end, when I told him this is my house, he was just like, okay, bye. I don't know, Morgan, what about you?
Bye. Oh goodness gracious! I was trying to dig deep and think of a story. I don't know, one that came to mind. So, and I guess it was kind of similarly like how you're saying how like it wasn't like a this like formal dinner drinks date, but it was actually a date walking.
Mhm.
So um, one of my best friends and I, Olivia, were in Paris, and we someone just ran into me and like hit my hand, and we were being all dramatic, like no, my hand, like, and I guess this French guy saw that and he thought it was cute, and so he like walked over and gave a little note with his name and his number.
Oh.
And so later, so we went to go watch the sunset at the Eiffel Tower, Olivia and I, and then we texted him, and then we ended up, he was like, let's, oh, like Paris at night is like, you know, phenomenal, like let's go on a walk. And we were like, okay. So and then we ended up picking up this other like traveler. And so him and I were kind of like walking, and Olivia and this other guy were walking, and so we just were chit chatting, and it was like nothing crazy, but it was like super lovely. I guess the part like the miscommunication or just like I don't know what it is kind of happened after. So he would like text me a lot, and I wasn't really super interested. I didn't live there. He didn't live in Madrid. And he like really wanted to come visit in Madrid, and I was like, oh, I don't think I'm very interested in that. And then he kept messaging, and so I ended up having to block him because he wasn't getting the hint.
Oh,
And then he found my email and
Oh.
was emailing me, and so I had to
Oh.
okay.
block him on email.
All right.
And then
1999.
yeah, and then like years later, I get a message on LinkedIn.
No.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "What is it that you want?" And he said something like, "Take you to Disney World Paris." And I'm like, "Okay." So it was just like one of those things like I don't know if that was a him thing, if it was, just like the romantic French man, but it definitely was an ongoing, not getting my very explicit cues.
Well, I wanted to add something I'm thinking about as you tell this story, Morgan. I'm wondering if you guys have ever experienced this. Well, I know, Brianna, you're from Canada, but being women from North America or like American girls abroad, sometimes I feel like again, fetishization is way too strong of a word, but there's maybe this like idea of what American women are. And it's like they're fun and they're cool and they're going to do this and they're going to be spontaneous and they're going to, go out and meet me in an international destination and host me at their house after we met one weekend in Paris. Like, do you feel that that's the thing that you've experienced?
Oh, I've never like put it in like and like try to put it in those terms, but now that I think about it, I mean, I think like maybe so. And I also think with just like, so many movies, a lot of them based in this, America. And I think that also like, yeah, we get this, people get this idea, yeah, that we're just like those fun, yes, people. So yeah, I would say, yeah.
I mean,
What
here
about
I
you?
am saying yes to everything, and then I'm like, well, don't assume that it's yes
Don't
to everything.
assume. No, I feel the same way. Like I feel like it's like the traveler mentality, and like I know when you live abroad, you form relationships faster. When you're traveling, you kind of have these like fast relationships with people. You start talking about things because you know that your time is limited. So I get that that comes with travel. But I literally went on one date with this guy, and we drank a soda water on the date, and literally he texted me that after the date he was like, "Hey, I had a really great time on our date. Do you think I can leave my luggage at your house while I go on the next leg of my vacation?" And I was like, first of all, there was not going to be a second date. Second of all, like, I'm not telling you where I live, and no, you can't leave your stuff at my house. Like, what?
Oh my
You don't
gosh.
know me. We are strangers. Why do you want to leave your valuables in my home? Like,
Yeah,
Oh
that's a
yeah, that's
lot.
pretty audacious.
like, no, you
Um,
can't do that
yeah, so I feel like that's almost like a cult. I don't know if that answered the question, but I'm like, okay, reverse. Maybe there's some cultural red flags about
about us.
being an American girl. But I was thinking of this other thing that I recently read. So I'm a part of this Facebook group, which is Girl Gone International Madrid. And it's just a community of women, and they post about everything. It could be dating, beauty, what the good cafes are, whatever the case may be. And I saw this girl
Mhm.
post about, she was American and she was dating a German guy. And of
Mhm.
course, everybody kind of has these opinions forming about the Israel Palestine conflict. And she's liberal and she supports Palestine and she feels strongly that a genocide is happening and Israel, what they're doing is not okay. And it was important to her that the person who she was dating matched her moral values, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
But then she explained this like frustration point where because the guy was German and given their history, he was really nervous to express that he disagreed with Israeli people or with Jewish people. And he eventually told her, like, as a Jewish man, it's not my position to pass judgment on what Jewish people are doing. And she was like, is this okay or is this not okay? Is it a cultural difference or is it a moral difference? So there are like these deep seated things, I think, that can come up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um that no, I think that's so true. And wow. Did what were like people that were chiming in, like what was the did people think about that?
Well, it was interesting because people just post these stories and then girls are giving their
Mhm.
advice or questions that they would ask. And people
Yeah.
were, I
Mhm.
think, kind of split. Some of them were like, okay, well, if you feel really, really strongly about this and it's make or break to you, then you have to be in a relationship with someone who has aligned moral values. But then other people were saying, like, he very well could have an aligned moral value, but he's expressing it differently. So there are these
Mhm.
like communication and cultural mishaps, I guess, that can happen.
Oh yeah. There's just so many layers for sure. I mean, in
Mhm.
dating in general, but then you throw in culture and language and
Yes,
it's just so many layers.
yes.
Okay, so
So
okay, so like obviously we learn stuff all the time, and especially in dating it teaches you so much. So I was thinking earlier when you were talking about language and we are talking about expressing yourself.
Mhm.
Do you feel like now that your level of Spanish is where it's at, like is it the same you, or do you feel like it's this different part of you that you're communicating with
Oh,
dating?
this is such a good question. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. Is my personality fully present in Spanish? Is that the question?
Yeah, personality or just is it too broad? Like just like who you are? Is that too
Yeah,
broad?
I think I know what you mean. I think at this point, the level of Spanish that I have expresses an sufficiently accurate version of myself. But I also
Okay.
still think that I am more myself in English. And mind you, my Spanish is not fantastic. Like, I think it's probably upper intermediate. Like, I can get through a conversation and I can, ask questions and answer questions. But I still feel like maybe who I am is almost slightly different. And I wonder about other people who are bilingual or who are learning languages, if that's the similar case for them. I mean, I constantly tell myself I should probably go take some formal Spanish classes because I never have since I've been in Madrid.
Hmm.
But I also wonder, like, okay, maybe I could take classes for years and who I am in another language is just different from who I am in English. I'm not sure. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you
I
think,
mean,
Brianna?
I again, I have no idea because my biggest regret is that I'm not bilingual. But for me, and it goes along with my like previous anecdote of like I want to learn my partner's language is because I when you're with someone that speaks another language and you're in their family home and they're speaking that language and you're meeting their friends and they're speaking that language and you can see that people are telling jokes,
Mhm.
and you can hear that the conversation has turned serious, or sometimes you see your partner and they're really angry and upset about something but you don't understand what it is that they're saying. And for me, I'm a very curious person. I'm like I want to learn my partner's language because I want to know, like, are you cool in your in your first language? Are you kind of
Are you
mean?
funny?
Like, are you nice? Are you a comedy? Like, I want in on the joke. And so yeah, that's the same reason why I'm like, no, if I'm gonna be with someone, I have to learn their language because I gotta know who you are in your first language. What if it's different? That's also a fear that
Yeah.
I have. I'm like, what if I'm with someone and I fall in love with them and they're amazing and we have this great relationship in English and then I learn their language and I find out like, oh, you're a jerk. Like I'm worried about that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And and it's hard like not having the full context. Like I remember when I was dating someone in Albania, and a lot of times like with their family, they would be talking, and I don't really like high level like yelling, and it would be like yelling like in Albanian, and I would be like, "What, is everything okay? Oh my gosh, like is your sister so mad right now? Like, what is going on?" And I would be like so tense. And they're like, "Oh, no, no, we're just talking about what we're going to have for lunch or something." Like, or like, "Oh, no, we were just talking." And I'm like, why were you guys yelling? And so, I don't know. It's tough, huh?
Mm.
So, yeah. Language, language, language. Okay, but so, okay, I'm curious to see, like, I feel like through my life, I've always had like a list of like non-negotiables or like deal breakers and whatnot, and they've evolved through the years. But I'm really curious to see like that kind of like if like list or mental list that you've had of deal breakers in your life, has that evolved with your time in Spain, or what has stayed the same and also changed?
Oh, this is a great question. As I mentioned at the start here, I've dated people, but I've also been single. Like none of these people have evolved into a serious partner or a boyfriend. So I think for me, deal breakers have been a sort of expression of getting to know myself better because the biggest relationship that I've kind of developed over this past decade has been with myself. So it's more about, okay, I want someone who has similar values to me or has a similar life trajectory to me. But instead of framing it like towards that other person, it's more like this is what I want and you can come along for the ride or not, but I'm going. Do you know what I mean? So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I've had deal breakers change, but I've become clearer about what it is that I guess I'm looking for, or rather what it is I want to do.
Okay, yeah. No, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. So I can't believe I feel like this episode could go on for 3 more hours. I have so many more things that I want to talk about. But as we sort of get into the end, the beginning of the end, what would you say if you had to give 3 tips for dating cross culturally? What would be your top 3 tips?
I would say, okay, rapid fire. I would say go in knowing what's okay with you and what's not okay with you because you should not
Mhm.
be, you shouldn't feel negatively or disrespected or anything like that because of a cultural difference. You can acknowledge that it's a cultural difference and at the same time hold space for what it is you're looking for. So I would say number one is like know yourself and know what you're okay with. I would say the
That's
second
good.
thing is maybe to go in with a healthy dose of humor. I think that there are going to be misunderstandings. You're going to mess up. The people who you're trying to connect with will probably mess up. So if you can put that in a lens of, okay, it's kind of funny. We're both just trying our best. That's what's going on. I think that can be really helpful. Um, Third one, I guess I would go back to the beginning and just say yes. I think we can get a little bit nervous when we're operating in different cultures and outside of our comfort zones. But if
Mhm.
it's something that you would say yes to in your home country, I would say try to say yes to it, even if it feels a little bit harder when you're traveling or away from home.
I love
Oh,
that.
those are
Those are
great.
so good. And I mean, we all love to hate the apps, but I mean, the apps are the apps. Do you have any apps that you love living internationally or apps that you absolutely stay away from?
Oh, okay. So I mentioned before that I was on Tinder in the US, probably right at the end of my university years, and then a little bit when I was working in the US. And I remain on Tinder. I mean, I have never deleted my account. There are men on there who I've never met, but I see them pop up, and I'm like, oh, I hope he's doing okay because he's just this random man that lives in my phone. So that one, I people talk bad about Tinder, but I do think it's the most level playing field. There's no gimmicks. There's no like you can only swipe 10 times a day or like the girl has to talk first. It's like, okay, like it's just a connection app and whatever it is you want to say or do, like you can go for it. And then the other one that I am on is Hinge. Hinge is really popular in Spain. I think it might be like the most popular dating app. And a lot of times, what people say is that people or users on the app are a little bit more curated and maybe a little bit more formal. They might be looking for relationships more than people on Tinder. So I flip flop between those two. And those are the only two apps that I've ever tried.
Okay, I love it. That is great advice. Thank you. And then the last one, my sort of like last rapid fire question
Hmm.
is I know that like when I'm living in a place and I'm going on a date, I love to screenshot the profile. I love to send it to my girlfriends. This is who I'm going with. This is where I'm going. Just, just in case. Safety is really important. Sometimes when you're traveling, you're not with a group of people that are necessarily are going to check to make sure you get home at the end of the night. How can you suggest to stay safe while you're dating abroad?
Excellent question. I mean, I also live alone, so I feel like that it heightens the need for safety. But Morgan and I used to be flatmates, and I feel like when I lived with other people, it would be like, okay, check in on each other, try to treat each
Mhm.
other like you maybe would a sibling without being too overbearing. So if you live with other people, I think, like you said, check in with them, share an address or a name. But then if you live alone, I definitely think share where you're going, whether that's sharing your location, like actually doing that on your phone, or just texting a friend and being like, I'm going to this coffee shop or this restaurant or this park
Mhm.
and like I'll check in with you at the end of the night or whatever the case may be. I frequently will pull my phone out on dates and truly tell the guy, I'm texting a friend because I told them that an hour into this date, I would give them an update just to let them know that I'm okay. And that also kind of
Love
like
that.
lets the guy know or the person that you're out with, people are checking in on me. Like I'm connected,
Oh, that's
like
great.
this is a
Yeah.
safety thing. So yeah, share a name, share a location. I'm also pretty particular about getting someone's last name because if you're meeting on an app, you typically get their first name or maybe not even a name at all. And what I usually say to people is, I'm going to add your contact to my phone, but I always put last names. So could you share your last name with me?
Love it.
Hmm.
Oh,
That's so
I think
good.
that's yeah, that is really good. And
Those are
also,
amazing.
I'm like, wait, I don't even know your last name. I forgot. And so I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. Like, we just had this like intimate day of talking of all these things, but I literally don't even know your last name.
Yeah.
The same thing. I've
That's
gone
good
on
to keep
like,
in mind.
3-4 dates with someone. I'm like, "Oh, do you have Instagram?" And we'll add each other on Instagram, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm just learning your last name." Like, that's wild.
Hmm.
It is. It is. So, just officially wrapping this up. So, Izzy, like, where are you now? What is your current dating vibe, would you say?
I think something that has changed for me over the last 10 years is that when I first moved internationally, I very much was in things for the experience. I wanted to meet a lot of other people. I wanted to learn about their cultures through other people. And now, I mean, I'm 33 years old now. I feel like my brain and my heart have kind of shifted into a place where I might be open to a relationship if the right person comes along. And that's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit where I am at. I'm dating a little bit more intentionally. There was a time in my life where it was like, all right, it's Friday. Like, who can I go out with this week just so that I have a plan and I can meet someone new and make a connection? Whereas now it's like I might go out with 3 people a year and try to get a deeper connection with that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's shifting towards more intentionality for me.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. And also,
Totally.
yeah, you visit home a lot because you're really
Yes.
close with your family as well. Could you just touch quickly on like how is that impacting your dating? Being in Madrid and also
Mm.
home in New Jersey.
Oh my gosh, that I feel like that's a whole podcast episode question. But basically, I'm home in New Jersey probably for about 2 to sometimes 6 months a year, not in one stretch, but just back and forth. And I have a little bit of a self consciousness around it. Sometimes I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to start a connection with a guy. And then next month, I'm going home for the summer. How do I explain that to him? What does our relationship look like when we're long distance for 2 weeks or a month? And
Yeah,
am I going to get tossed to the wayside just because I'm living this international life? But at the same time, I love my
yeah.
international life. So that kind of is my priority. So it definitely
Hmm.
impacts my dating. It gives me a little bit of a complex, but I also have had a lot of friends who've made connections where people are just ready to go for the ride with them. Like, okay, you're going to the
Yeah.
US. Can I come? We've been dating for 2 or 3 years. Like, I'll just come with you. I've had people move in together internationally. So I'm hoping for something like that for myself, but just a small thing. I'm also working towards a more permanent, like, immigration status in Spain. Fingers crossed.
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm going to have a mentality shift when that happens. I've had some of my friends in Spain tell me, Izzy, when you're more secure here and you're not renewing your visa every single year, your mentality is going to shift towards more permanence and more long term type of
Yeah.
Mhm.
things. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that might be the case.
Okay, I can see how those will parallel and
Mhm.
really
Totally.
connect.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Righty, well, loved talking about these topics of dating and all that goes in it with you. And I feel like we could do even more episodes on this topic with you, and can't wait to have you back at some
Oh,
Yeah,
I
point.
know, this was so fun.
you gotta come back.
This was
We
so
have a
You
fun.
have to.
we have way more to discuss. You gotta come back.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay. And any last thoughts, Brianna or Izzy or
I just want to say thank you so much. It's so lovely to meet another global girlfriend who's just,
Mhm.
out there in the dating streets with us all. It's a just yeah, thank you for sharing your stories. This has been so fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Oh, yay, loved it and loved connecting friends from all over the world as well.
Mhm.
Well, anyways, okay, everyone, thank you so much for listening. And if you love this podcast, please like it, subscribe, and comment any of your thoughts or stories. We love to connect in that way. So if you want to find us, we are on the internet. We are on social media at The Global Girlfriend for Instagram, TikTok, and you can also email us at theglobalgirlfriend@gmail.com. So we'd love to connect with you there.
We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Izzy, for being with us today, and we'll
Yes,
see you
thank
guys
you.
next week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.